This is first of my many reviews into the realm of comics. I myself am really new to comic collecting and comic book reading, but I thought it'd be kind of a fun thing to do to get all the noise out of the horrible world I live in and, and focus on some really dumb, colorful comic books. Okay, so the first issue I wanted to bring to mind was Turtles of Greyskull. This is a crossover event with the Masters of the Universe and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. At first glance, honestly, I was really excited to read this because I feel like it's, He-Man is one of my favorite kind of like independent, I suppose, independent like hero characters. He kind of does his own thing with the Masters of the Universe, and it's kind of a cool icon of the '90s and the '80s. And then Ninja Turtles, which I also like as well. Not as much as He-Man, but the Ninja Turtles are also there, and I like them as well. My favorite is probably the original '90s movie with the rubber suits. I like Ninja Turtles a lot. Okay, but yeah, so I guess I'll start with the good before I absolutely destroy this stupid book. Number one is that the art is really good. I think the art is pretty beautiful, and the concepts of the story is really good. I think the idea of having He-Man and Ninja Turtles crossover is perfect, and they should have just stuck with that instead of the horrendous garbage within these many pages. Um, but yeah, I guess the main issue started off probably has to do with like the crossover event itself. Of course, has to do with the multiverse, which was cool like 10 years ago, and it feels less of a plot device and more of just they need some dumb reason to bring in ruin the story overall. And then of course time travel, which is even worse, because now they're like, and I'm gonna spoil the story here, so skip like 10 seconds ahead as I spoil the story. So in the very beginning, all the characters die, which is like, oh, just kidding. There's a wizard who can time travel. I'm like, that. So none of this matters. Then I'm like, time travel in general needs to be used very, very very smart, because it can just be used to do some very, very poor, lazy writing. I've seen that so much nowadays, especially with like the current movies that are coming out. The Marvel Universe, the Loki series. Loki looks really good, but I'm gonna be honest, the multiverse just makes me want to rip my head off. It's so convoluted. I don't think it's not impossible to understand and get, but I'm an average reader. I'm not that big brain of a guy. I want to have stories that are simple and make sense to me. Time travel is a good device. It's just holy crap, they've ruined this story. It is so bad. Um, so I'll get back to the time travel thing too, because it goes further deeper into the plot. But let's talk about this stuff too. So there's two characters they introduce to the Turtles of Greyskull deliberately just for the story, which kind of sucks because I want it to be a crossover event between both the Ninja Turtles and Masters of the Universe, and instead 90% of the story is focused on these two characters, which makes me so depressed. Like, I feel like this would have been a good comic without He-Man and Ninja Turtles if they just had those characters somewhere else. Like, it was so stupid. So yeah, one character was a ninja trained by Skeletor, Ninjor, which is pretty funny. The other one was Rennet, which is, I'm pretty sure, a protein they use to make cheese, which is even funnier. Rennet's from like the Masters of the Universe story, and not the actual story, but the Masters of the Universe, which is like time travels and crap. And I made sure, like, I double checked reading this, is like, if they're like, because throughout the Masters of the Universe, they have the Turtles of Greyskull, they have like mixing of characters. Like Skeletor has like the ooze from Ninja Turtles and like becomes powerful, stuff like that. That's like a main plot point. And the all the villains from Ninja Turtles go over to Eternia, and they fight with swords now, stuff like that. Just simple mixing and mashing stuff, which is kind of cool. But I made sure, I was like, okay, well, this might be like a mix between some characters like Ninjor and Renette, right? And nope, they are literally designed just for the story. And I'm like, why? There's so many characters in the Master Universe and in Ninja Turtles, and they don't take time to use any of them. Like, it made me so sad. Uh, yeah. Like I said, it's just the biggest issue has to do with the fact that I want to read stuff about He-Man and Ninja Turtles, and they're barely talked about. It's just about this time traveler, Renette, trying to stop the death of the characters in the beginning. Uh, anyway, like I said, it's just about Ninja or Renette. Oh my gosh. What sucks too is that when it starts to get good, they time travel and change everything. Like I get so confused. Like, what the heck just happened? It's like, oh shoot, they time travel to the future, so this doesn't happen. Like, it's so bonkers and stupid. Anyway, time travel is a very, very garbage use of a plot device to push the plot forward. I think if you make it, like, it's still usable. Just for crying out loud, make it easy to understand. Make it, simple so that we can understand the plot. Anyway, I'm gonna spoil a little bit more of the story real quick. Like I said too in the very beginning, the characters died, so they time traveled to before they met, and yeah. Like I said, I don't understand it very well. But yeah, they took it. So also, what happens next is that Renette gets the Turtles and He-Man, and they kind of swap places. So it's like, okay, He-Man, you're gonna live in New York, where the Ninja Turtles were in like Splinter's cave, and then Ninja Turtles just live in Eternia. We'll like watch over you guys, which I thought was a really cool concept. In fact, that's probably my favorite part of the story is them experiencing life in these two different worlds. He-Man goes to, he goes to Earth, right? Everyone around him is a human, so he gets the opportunity not to be, the Prince of Eternia and just be a regular teenage kid. Which also reminded me of the fact that He-Man is a kid, which is insane with his build. I think he's probably on drugs. No, but... And then going back, same thing to the Ninja Turtles as well. The Ninja Turtles, there's freaking lizard people on Eternia, and they get to actually, like, feel normal out in public, Stuff like that. Which was really, really cool. I thought that was awesome. So, put this in perspective, my favorite part of this, 6 pages, okay? Which, comics are pretty small and short, but this was the whole volume, right? This is the whole book. 6 pages out of the 128 pages of this comic book. I'm like, it's a crossover with He-Man and Ninja Turtles, and it's only 6 pages of them having a crossover. Like, what's going on? All right. But let's finish this off. So I guess let's start with the ending was garbage. It was forced, very strong and forced. They went back to the original places, and it just was a mess. I looked up also recently that on top of this comic being pushed, they had a toy line coming out as well, which I feel like that was probably the main selling point. But still, I what's unfortunate is that the same writers, the exact same team is writing the Masters of the Universe, the Sword of Flames, which is out right now. They have the last issue coming out next month, which is really good. I really like it. How could they mess this one up? You know what I mean? I'm like, what went wrong here? Anyway. Yeah, so I guess, like I said, the art style was really, really good. I think most of these do pretty well for the art. Storyline, garbage. It was so wasted. It was such a wasted potential. Like, it's weird to me that I feel like I could write a better story than this team right here. I'm just so disappointed. Yeah. Overall, I give it a 2 out of 5 to F. Just rush story, huge waste of potential on what they could have done with the He-Man and Ninja Turtles crossover. Like I said, they're making the same teams doing Masters of the Universe, Sword of Flames, and Part 4 is going to be out next month. So hopefully they could land the ball. So far, it's been pretty good. But that's pretty much it. I would say vote with your dollar. Don't read garbage like this. Look ahead and just make sure it's worth your time. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've wasted so much of my life having to sit down and actually think about how bad this book is. How much we've messed up as a society, okay? Society's to blame for this one, okay? Our culture is collapsing all around us, okay? We're accepting that stuff like this is okay to read. We're Americans, all right? Let me state that first. We're Americans. All right? We've conquered the whole world in technology and culture, music, sports. We've done everything we could have possibly done. And now we're the new generation. And this is what we come up with. We can do better, all right? That's why all I'm saying is that encourage good culture, encourage good writing, encourage good art, and we'll be out for the better, okay? That's the end of my review. God bless America.